I accused my boyfriend of cheating, and now I deeply regret what I did. I accused my boyfriend of cheating and said things I can't take back. I thought I had proof messages, a hidden name, and a trip that didn't make sense. But the truth wasn't what I expected. And by the time I realized it, I'd already lit the match. Names changed for privacy. Here's what happened. Throwaway account. Names changed. I'm Mia, 27F. My boyfriend Noah is 29. We've been together almost 3 years, living together for 1. We're not perfect, but we've always had the kind of relationship I used to think was rare, steady, affectionate, and boring in the best way. Noah is the dependable type. He's not a big social media guy. He doesn't flirt. He's the person friends call when they need help moving or when their car won't start. He's also the type who assumes other people are honest because he is. I'm not that. Not because I'm dishonest, but because my brain is always scanning for danger. I had a previous relationship in my early 22nd that ended with very real cheating, very real lying, and a very humiliating everyone knew but you moment. I thought I'd healed. I did therapy. I learned coping skills. But healing isn't deleting. It's learning to live without bleeding on people who didn't cut you. Noah knew my history. He was patient with it. Too patient. Probably. The first thing that triggered everything happened on a normal Tuesday. Noah was in the shower. His phone was on the counter, buzzing. I didn't go through it. That's important. I didn't pick it up and start scrolling. But the screen lit up with a notification preview, one of those iPhone banners that shows a name and part of the message. The name was Lily. Work. The message preview said, "Last night was fun. Same thing next time?" My stomach dropped so fast, I actually felt dizzy. I know what some people will say. Why were you looking at his phone? I wasn't hovering. I was brushing my teeth. It was right there, lit up like a flare. And yes, I could have done the healthy thing right then. Waited until he was out, told him what I saw, asked for context. But what I felt in that moment wasn't curiosity. It was fear. I put my toothbrush down and walked out of the bathroom like the floor had tilted. Noah came out, towel around his waist, hair dripping, completely relaxed. He kissed my forehead and said, "You good?" I forced a smile so hard my face hurt. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." He went to make coffee. I watched him move around our kitchen comfortable, unbothered, and a part of me thought, if he was hiding something, would he be this calm? Another part of me replied, yes, that's what cheaters do. I hated that voice. I hated that I still had it. All day at work, I couldn't focus. I kept replaying the message. Last night was fun. Same thing next time? It sounded like a date. It sounded like the beginning of an affair. That night, I asked casually, "How was your day?" Noah shrugged. "Fine. Busy. Anything interesting happen?" I asked too casually. He smiled. "Not really." He didn't mention Lily. He didn't mention last night. He didn't mention anything that would make that message feel harmless. So my anxiety did what it always does when it doesn't get information. It built a story. The next day, Noah said he had a work happy hour after hours. That wasn't unusual. His team does it once or twice a month. But now, everything felt suspicious. He left at 6:30. He came home around 9:40, smelling like beer and fries. "Good time?" I asked. "Yeah," he said, kicking off his shoes. "Just coworkers. Nothing crazy." I tried to keep my voice neutral. "Who was there?" Noah looked at me for a beat. Most of the team." "Why?" "Just asking," I said quickly, too quickly. He nodded slowly, like he was filing that away. That night, while he was asleep, I lay next to him, staring at the ceiling, listening to his breathing. I didn't want to become the person who snoops. I didn't want to be that girlfriend. I didn't want to ruin what we had, but I also didn't want to be blindsided again. The next morning, he left his phone on the couch while he took the trash out. Again, I didn't decide to snoop with some villain plan. I picked it up like my body moved before my brain caught up. I'm not proud of it. I'm telling you because it's the truth. His phone wasn't locked, not because he was careless, but because he'd just been using it. I opened messages. I found Lily. And my chest tightened because the thread wasn't empty. It wasn't work only. It was casual, friendly, familiar, not explicit, but warm. There were memes. There were jokes. There were messages like, "Lol, you're the worst. Tell your girlfriend I'm stealing you for the project. Don't forget Thursday." Then I saw the message from the notification. "Last night was fun. Same thing next time?" Noah had replied, "Yeah, we can. I'll let you know after I check my schedule." That reply made my brain scream, because if it was truly work, why not say, "Sure, coworker, let's do another work thing"? Why, check my schedule like it was a date? I put the phone down, hands shaking, and went to the bathroom. I stared at myself in the mirror and tried to breathe like my therapist taught me. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. My body didn't care. My body was already in fight or flight. I went back out and Noah walked in from outside, cheeks pink from cold air. "Hey," he said, smiling. "Want pancakes this weekend?" I looked at him and felt something painful. He looked like the man I loved, and I felt like I was about to become someone I hated. I said, "Who's Lily?" His smile faded. "What?" I said it again, voice sharper. "Who is Lily?" Noah blinked. "She's a coworker." "Why?" I felt tears sting my eyes, anger and humiliation mixing into one hot feeling. "Don't lie to me," I snapped. I saw the messages. Noah's face changed instantly, confusion into alarm. "Mia," he said slowly, "why were you looking at my phone?" And that's when it turned from a question into a fight, because he was right to ask, and I wasn't ready to admit I'd crossed a line. Instead, I said the sentence that set everything on fire, "Because I think you're cheating on me." Noah went completely still, like I'd slapped him. Then he said, very quietly, "Are you serious?" I didn't answer fast enough, because the truth is yes. I was serious, and the moment I saw his face, I realized I had no idea what would happen next. But I was already too far in to back out gracefully. Noah didn't yell. That's what makes this worse. If he'd yelled, I could have told myself he was guilty and defensive. If he'd been cruel, I could have framed myself as the victim. Instead, he looked genuinely hurt. He sat down on the edge of the couch like his legs stopped working and said, "Mia, I'm not cheating." I folded my arms tightly, like physical pressure could keep me from shaking. "Then explain Lily," I demanded. Noah rubbed his face. "She's on my project team," he said. "We've been working late. We grab food sometimes after. That's it." I heard "food sometimes," and my brain translated it into dates. I said, "Last night was fun. Same thing next time?" "That's not about spreadsheets, Noah." Noah's eyebrows knit together. "She meant the taco place," he said. Like it was obvious. "We went after the meeting. I didn't even think." "Of course you didn't," I cut in. "Because you're so innocent." That was unfair. I knew it even as it left my mouth. Noah's jaw tightened. "You went through my phone while I was taking out the trash," he said. It wasn't a question. It was a fact. I hated the shame rising in me, so I deflected. "If you weren't doing anything wrong, there wouldn't be anything to find." Noah stared at me. "That's not how trust works." We went in circles. I demanded proof. He demanded respect. I said the messages were inappropriate. He said he could set boundaries with her, but he wasn't going to apologize for having a coworker. Then I said something I regret more than the snooping. I said, "You're making me feel crazy, just like my ex did." Noah's face fell like a curtain. "That's not fair," he said softly. And it wasn't, because Noah wasn't my ex. But once you bring past betrayal into the present, you poison the room. Everything tastes like old hurt. I stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat on the bed shaking, listening for him to follow me. He didn't. He slept on the couch. The next day at work, I couldn't focus again. I reread the thread in my mind, analyzing like it was a crime scene. But the more I did, the less certain I felt. There was no "I miss you," no "I love you," no explicit flirting in words. It was friendly, casual. Still, something felt off, and instead of sitting in uncertainty like an adult, I did the most destructive thing possible. I dragged someone else into it. I texted Noah's friend, Chris, who I'd always gotten along with, because I wanted reassurance. I wanted someone to tell me I wasn't crazy. "Hey," I wrote, "has Noah ever cheated or been shady?" As soon as I sent it, I felt a rush of regret, but it was already out. Chris replied an hour later. What? No. Why would you ask that? I told him about Lily. Chris said, Lily is literally on his team. She's engaged. This is nothing. Engaged. That detail hit me like cold water. If Lily was engaged, then why did my brain insist it was an affair? Because my brain likes familiar pain. It knows what to do with it. Still, I didn't let go. Instead, I doubled down. That night, I confronted Noah again, demanding he show me his calendar, his emails, anything. Noah looked exhausted. Mia, he said, I can't live like I'm under investigation. I said, then stop acting suspicious. He stared at me for a long time, then said quietly, I'm not the one acting suspicious. That should have been my wake-up call. Instead, I panicked, because the truth is, a part of me feared he'd leave, and fear makes you grab tighter, not softer. He stood up, walked to the bedroom door, and said, I need space tonight. Space. The word my ex used before he cheated. The word my nervous system treats like a siren. I followed him into the hallway and said, if you walk away right now, I'll know you're guilty. Noah turned to me, eyes hard. That's emotional blackmail, he said. I opened my mouth to argue, then shut it, because even I could hear how bad it sounded. Noah slept at Chris's place that night. I didn't sleep at all. At 2 a.m., I did something that makes me cringe now. I made a fake account and looked at Lily's social media. I saw photos of her with her fiancé, wedding planning posts, group photos with coworkers, including Noah standing at the edge, smiling like a normal person. Nothing romantic, nothing secretive, just life. My stomach turned. I felt like I'd been chasing a monster in my head while my real relationship was bleeding out on the floor. At 9 a.m., Noah texted me, we need to talk tonight, in person. My chest tightened. That sentence never means good news. I spent the day rehearsing apologies and defenses like I was preparing for trial. When Noah came home, he looked calm in a way that scared me. Calm like someone who has already decided. He sat at the table and said, I love you, but I can't be punished for something I didn't do. I started crying immediately. Ugly crying. I'm sorry, I said. I'm so sorry. Noah didn't reach for me like he usually would. He just watched me, eyes tired. I need you to understand what you did, he said. You violated my privacy. You accused me. You involved my friend. You turned my work life into something dirty. I nodded, crying harder. I know. I don't know what happened to me. Noah's voice stayed steady. I do, he said. You got triggered. And instead of telling me you were scared, you attacked me. That line hit me because it was true. Then he said, and there's something else. My stomach dropped. What? He pulled out his phone, unlocked it, and opened a message thread I hadn't seen. It wasn't Lily. It was a number saved as unknown. The messages were screenshots. Screenshots of my texts, out of context. Conversations between me and Noah, cropped to make me look unstable. The unknown number had been sending them to Noah all week, with captions like, see, she's crazy. Get out before it's too late. Noah looked at me and said, someone is trying to mess with us. I stared at the screen. Numb. Noah continued, and the reason you don't recognize these screenshots is because they're from your old phone. My mouth went dry, because suddenly, I knew exactly who had access to that phone. My ex. And he had just found a way to hurt me again through my new relationship, and I had helped him do it. Noah explained what he'd discovered while he was at Chris's place. Chris, being the blunt friend he is, told Noah, this smells like sabotage. So Noah checked the metadata on some of the screenshots. He's not a tech genius, but he's competent. He saw timestamps that didn't match the way the conversation would have flowed. He noticed cropping that removed Noah's reassuring replies and kept only my anxious lines. It wasn't proof of cheating. It was proof of a narrative. And the unknown number? It was new, untraceable easily. But it kept sending the same kind of message. She's unstable. Leave her. I felt nauseous. Why would someone do that? I whispered. Noah didn't answer right away. Then he asked gently, Mia, has your ex ever tried to contact you? I hesitated. Not directly, I said. He tried once a year ago with a hope you're well text. I blocked him. Noah nodded. Okay, he said. Then think bigger. Who would benefit from you and me breaking up? The answer was obvious and awful. My ex didn't just cheat years ago. He liked control. He liked being the center of my emotional universe, even after he left it. And the worst part of people like that is they don't always want you back. They just don't want you happy without them. And if I'm being honest, he always hated that I eventually moved on and looked fine. He used to say, "You act like you can replace me." Maybe this was his response, proving I couldn't. Noah's phone buzzed while we were talking. Another message from unknown came through. Don't let her cry her way out. She's manipulating you. Noah held the phone up so I could see it in real time. I stared at it and felt my shame turn into anger, not at Noah, not at Lily, but at whoever was still pulling strings in my life. Noah said, "We're going to handle this calmly." His calm made me want to collapse, because I'd created chaos, and he was still choosing steadiness. We started with the obvious: securing accounts, changing passwords, enabling two-factor authentication, checking if any old devices were still linked. I logged into my Apple account and saw that my old phone, technically the one my ex bought me years ago, had been connected to my account at some point. I felt sick. It was like realizing a stranger had a key to your apartment. I removed all devices, changed my password, and reset security questions. Noah did the same. Then we confronted the Lily issue directly, because I owed Noah clarity, and Lily deserved not to be treated like a villain. Noah emailed Lily, professional tone, copying HR, requesting all communication be limited to work channels due to personal harassment, and advising her to report anything odd. Lily responded kindly and immediately. Of course. Also, I'm sorry this is happening. My fiancé has been getting weird anonymous DMs too. I thought it was spam. My stomach dropped. So it wasn't just me. Someone was targeting Noah and Lily, using the work friendship as the doorway. That made it more believable to me, and I fell for it. Noah looked at me and said, "Mia, this is what I mean. Someone is deliberately poking your trauma." I whispered, "I ruined us." Noah shook his head. "You hurt us," he corrected gently. "But we're not ruined unless we decide we are." He wanted to work through it, and that should have been a relief. It was, but it also made my guilt heavier, because forgiveness offered too quickly can feel like you don't deserve it. The next step was unpleasant. We made a police report, not because we expected an instant solution, but because we wanted documentation in case it escalated. The officer said it might count as harassment depending on volume and content. We also told close friends not to engage with any messages about us. Then Chris came over and said something that made my face burn. "Who did Mia text about cheating?" he asked Noah. Noah looked at me. I looked down. "I texted you," I admitted. Chris exhaled slowly. "Okay," he said, calmer than I deserved. "That's not great. But if we're dealing with someone who manipulates narratives, we need to keep the circle tight." I apologized to Chris, genuinely. He nodded, still uncomfortable but not cruel. For a few weeks, things were quiet. Noah and I tried to rebuild trust. I went back to therapy and admitted what I'd done. My therapist didn't sugarcoat it. "You acted on fear," she said, "and you externalized it." Then, the unknown number made its biggest move. Noah got an email at work addressed to his manager with a subject line, "Concern." It was anonymous. It accused Noah of having an inappropriate relationship with a coworker, and included the exact screenshot I'd seen initially, but edited with the Lily work label removed so it looked like a secret contact. HR opened an inquiry. Noah came home pale. "They asked me if I'm having an affair," he said. I felt my stomach drop through the floor, because now my accusation wasn't just emotional damage. It was potentially career damage. And I had handed the saboteur the perfect weapon, my own panic. That night, Noah looked at me and said, "I need to know something." "What?" I whispered. He took a breath. "If this gets worse, will you believe me?" I started crying again. "Yes," I said. "I will." He held my gaze. "Then we're going to do this differently," he said. "No more accusations, only facts." And the first fact we needed was, Who was behind unknown? Because now it wasn't just about our relationship. It was about stopping someone from ruining his life. HR's inquiry was humiliating for Noah. Even though he hadn't done anything wrong, anyone who's been pulled into an investigation knows the feeling. You become guilty until you prove yourself innocent, even if the allegation is ridiculous. Noah handled it like he handles everything: calm, organized, factual. He provided work logs, meeting schedules, group calendars, and confirmed Lily was engaged and had never been alone with him outside group settings. HR concluded there was no evidence of misconduct, but the emotional residue remained. Noah felt watched. Lily felt uncomfortable. And I felt like I'd lit a fire and then watched someone else carry the smoke. Noah didn't blame me directly, but the distance between us was real. Trust isn't a switch, it's a practice. And I'd broken it. I did the only thing I could do without making it worse. I took accountability without demanding immediate forgiveness. I apologized again, specific apologies, not sorry if you felt. I'm sorry I invaded your privacy. I'm sorry I accused you instead of talking to you. I'm sorry I involved Chris. I'm sorry I let my past make you pay. Noah listened. Then he said, "Thank you, but we still have a problem." The problem was the unknown harasser. We decided to try one strategy: contain and reveal. Noah created a new email address and a new phone number through an app, something not linked to his identity publicly. We didn't use it for anything except one purpose: bait. We suspected my ex, but we needed something more than suspicion. We crafted a message that only someone monitoring us would respond to. Noah posted nothing publicly. He didn't tell friends. But he sent himself a text from the new number that read, "Can't believe you're still talking to Lily after what happened. You're going to get caught." Then Noah took a screenshot and left it visible on his laptop for a few minutes, during a small get-together at our place, just two friends, one of whom was mutual with my ex. This part makes me uncomfortable ethically. It wasn't a gotcha to ruin someone's life. It was a controlled exposure of a pattern that was already causing harm. Within 48 hours, the unknown number texted Noah, "Nice try. That number won't save you. Tell Mia she'll always ruin things." My chest went cold, because that message included my name. Then it added, "I told you she'd never change." I stared at the screen, shaking. It wasn't proof in a court sense, but it was enough to confirm the motive. This was personal, and whoever it was had history with me. Noah said, "We're not responding." Instead, we handed it to the officer we'd spoken with and updated the report. Then something happened I didn't expect. My ex emailed me from a new address. Subject: "Told you." The email said, "You accuse good men because you're broken. You'll always be broken. Tell Noah hi." I felt like I couldn't breathe. Noah read it and his face went hard. "Okay," he said. "Now we have direct contact." We forwarded it to the officer. The officer said that repeated contact after being blocked could qualify as harassment, depending on jurisdiction and evidence. My ex had just stepped into a documented pattern. But even with law enforcement, the system moves slowly. So we focused on our life, tightening privacy, limiting who knows our schedules, and rebuilding trust. The rebuilding part was the hardest. Because Noah started to flinch from closeness, sometimes not physically, but emotionally. He'd pause before sharing something, like he was checking whether it would be used against him. One night he said, "When you accused me, I realized you could believe something terrible about me very quickly." That broke my heart, because he was right. I said, "I don't want to be that person." Noah nodded. "Then don't be," he said. "But it takes time." We started couples therapy, not because we were on the edge of a breakup, but because we didn't want to repeat the dynamic. Our therapist said something simple: cheating isn't the only way trust is broken. Accusations can be a betrayal too. I felt that in my bones. And then the final twist arrived. Lily messaged Noah through work chat and said her fiancé had received a message too, this time with details only someone from my past would know, a nickname my ex used for me years ago. Lily's fiancé had Googled it, found my old public social profile, and recognized my ex's name from tagged photo. He sent Noah a screenshot. My ex had used a burner profile that linked back to his old username style. It wasn't a confession, but it was a trail. We handed that to the officer as well. Suddenly, the story wasn't girlfriend accuses boyfriend. It was third-party harassment and sabotage. And for the first time since this started, I felt like we might actually stop it. But stopping it legally wasn't the only battle. The bigger one was inside my own chest. Learning to sit with fear without turning it into a weapon. A few months later, my ex was issued a formal warning through legal channels to stop contacting us. Again, I can't share exact details beyond that for privacy, but the harassment slowed dramatically after that. The silence was strange at first. Like my nervous system didn't trust it. I kept waiting for the next message, the next screenshot, the next little spark meant to ignite my paranoia, but it didn't come. And without the constant poking, I had no excuse left. I had to face the real issue. I had accused Noah because I was scared, and instead of communicating, I tried to control. Noah and I stayed together, but I won't pretend it went back to normal quickly. It didn't. Trust rebuilt in inches. He asked for a few non-negotiables. No phone snooping, ever. If I feel triggered, I say it before I spiral. If I need reassurance, I ask for it directly, not as an interrogation. If I break those rules, we revisit the relationship. I agreed, and I added my own. He communicates boundaries with coworkers clearly, not because he owes me that, but because I need safety while rebuilding. We do therapy for at least 6 months. We keep our private life private, no oversharing to friends who might unintentionally leak information. One night, about 5 months after the blow-up, Noah and I were making dinner, and he said, quietly, "I think I'm starting to feel like myself again." I put the knife down and cried. Not because I was sad, because I realized how much I damaged his sense of safety. I said, "I'm sorry." He nodded. "I know," he said, "and I see you trying." That was the thing. You can regret your actions, but regret without change is just self-pity. I didn't want to be someone who apologizes beautifully and repeats the same harm. We kept doing the boring work. Weekly therapy, daily check-ins, learning to tolerate uncertainty without demanding proof like a prosecutor. I also apologized to Lily. Not a dramatic message, just a simple one. "I'm sorry my personal situation affected your work environment. You didn't deserve that." She replied kindly, "Thank you. I'm glad you two are okay." The craziest part is, Lily and I might have been friends in another universe, but my fear turned her into a symbol. Now for the question I'm stuck with and why I'm posting. I did accuse Noah. I did violate his privacy. I did drag someone else into it. Even if there was sabotage, I still chose the way I reacted. So, Aita? Some friends say, you had reason to be suspicious. Others say, you still crossed lines. Noah says, we're moving forward, but I'm not forgetting. And I don't want him to forget. Not because I want to be punished forever, but because I want the lesson to stay alive. Because the truth is, my biggest fear wasn't Noah cheating. My biggest fear was being powerless. And I tried to solve powerlessness with control. Now I'm learning the opposite. Trust is risk. Love is risk. And if you can't tolerate risk, you don't get intimacy, you get surveillance. I don't want to live like that. So I'm trying to become someone who can be scared and still be kind. Someone who can ask, can you reassure me? Instead of saying, you're guilty. Because if I ever lose Noah, I want it to be because life changed. Not because I repeated a trauma pattern and called it intuition. That's my regret. And it's why I'm doing the work. So, Aita, for accusing him the way I did? And if you were Noah, would you forgive me? If you want more Reddit-style long stories like this, subscribe.